So in this video, we will just unbox and have a first look at the iPhone 13 mini here in February 2022. This price has come down quite significantly, at least here in my country, for the iPhone 13 generation. And I've been wanting to get a smaller phone for when I go out and running, just so I can have like contact with the outside world. Usually I don't bring my phone with me, but also so I can listen to music. And from time to time, I really miss having a camera with me so I can take some photos on the way. That's kind of the reasoning for getting the 13 mini, because yeah, it is a small phone. It is also waterproof. And that's very important, because not only because of sweat, but also rain and snow and hail and yeah, all kinds of weather conditions here in my country at the moment. So it will get wet eventually. Also just the convenience of being able to stream all music instead of having to transfer it to my headphones. I use these Sony Walkman headphones, which is a standalone device when I go out and run, but you cannot synchronize with anything that I'm using. I'm using Google Music, or YouTube Music rather. And it is a little cumbersome to go and find MP3 files. I'm not really into the business of ripping CDs anymore. And yeah, buying license-free music online is getting harder and harder. So it would be nice to be able to just stream something from YouTube Music, which I am subscribed to, and just use those playlists. And you can also, of course, transfer music to my watch, but the battery life will just degrade quite significantly if I'm streaming over Bluetooth. And also, again, doesn't support YouTube Music. You need Spotify or Deezer or Amazon Music to be able to use this watch here, which is the Phoenix 7X, or the Phoenix generation of watches or series of watches. So yeah, that's my reasoning for getting this, so I can have contact with the outside world when I'm running. Also so I can just stream music and also take the occasional photo or video clip there when I'm out and doing my exercises. So I believe this is the best phone for that. I would have liked maybe a phone to be a little bit cheaper than this one here. Still is kind of an expensive phone-ish. I think you get a lot for your money, but definitely would have liked something a little bit cheaper, but definitely not something bigger than this. And also, like I said, weather sealing is kind of a big deal to me. I was kind of tempted to go for the Samsung Z Flip or Z Fold, or what is it called? The clamshell phone, because it's also heavily discounted right now, but it doesn't really have the best weather sealing because of the foldable design. So this one, I believe, still is better. And I just opted for the midnight color, and still would have liked a black version or black color, but yeah, this is some black / bluish tint black color. Same, I believe, as the case I have here on my 13 Pro Max. And yeah, my 13 Pro Max, I'm definitely not gonna pick this up for any kind of running activities. This is a very heavy phone and big and chunky, so I'm not really comfortable just carrying it with me when I'm out and doing my runs and other kinds of activities for that matter. It is a chunky phone. Fantastic battery life though. But yeah, that brings me to this smaller variant here. And of course around the back here, this is the, if you can see down here, it is the 128GB version, so the standard smallest variant you can get nowadays. Definitely nice that Apple went for 128GB this time around. The 64 was starting to feel a little low in terms of all the applications and music and so on you can, of course, have on these phones nowadays. Other than that, of course, just a standard iPhone box. You kind of see the same coloring on the logos there and on the name there on the logo as well. And then of course you have the phone here, and you can actually feel the phone on the case. So a little bit of a 3D like design there. But anyways, let's just get into it, unbox it, and just set it up and have a first look at this phone here. So yeah, pretty easy to get inside. You just have to peel those two here. No plastic wrapping this time around either, which is a good thing, of course, for the environment. And yeah, inside here, see a little cutout for the camera. Other than that, of course, you have the phone. I'm not totally in love with this color. Wish they had just standard black color. But of course, I will throw a case on this anyway, so not a big deal. But man, it is definitely small, but not super small. I still had like an iPhone 5 in mind, or the first generation of iPhone SE, when I think of a small phone. So this is a little bit bigger. But of course, compared to the 13 Pro Max here, it is just so much smaller and also much lighter as well. Let's just have a look around the phone, of course. But you probably know by now, SIM here, physical SIM, but you also have eSIM. buttons here on the left side for volume, and of course the little mute switch there as well. Nothing really on the top except for the antenna bands, and yeah, antenna bands all the way around. This doesn't have the millimeter wave band, so it doesn't have the like antenna on the side here that you see on many photos online. For European market, Scandinavian market, we don't use millimeter waves here. And of course the big power button. And yeah, this is of course an iPhone, so everything is put together quite well here. And lightning, still USB 2.0. I'm not gonna complain about that anymore because yeah, it is what it is, but next year we'll probably see some faster transfer speed with either a proprietary like MagSafe or something like that. And then of course peel off the plastic protector or cardboard protector, and you have that nice screen. And that's one thing that made me always sell my smaller phones like the iPhone 5 and iPhone SE. I did have those back in the days just to have a smaller phone, but the screen size was just too small, or 3.5 inches, versus this is, I believe, is 5.4 inches. Correct me if I'm wrong, but still is an ample size display. Of course, you have the notch up there for the Face ID and the front-facing camera. Nice bezel-less design here. Yeah, I really like the design. I wish like we'll see the notch go away, but I'm not really sure it will do so anytime soon. There's a lot of rumor about the hole punch display in the future. I have my doubts though, because we're now starting to see this on laptops as well from Apple. So it seems they're just like wanting to notch everything. But yeah, definitely it's very easy to get around this phone here. Actually kind of nice. But of course, once you start using it, everything is just so small and tiny. And what we get in the box other than the phone, of course, we get a charging cable. No chargers, of course, included, but you already know that. SIM eject tool and some information here. Safety information. And you get one Apple sticker as well. So let's just move the case away, the box away. Let's bring the little guy here into the frame, and let's just start it up and see how much juice we actually have on this little phone here. And yeah, just for reference here, let's just bring in the big boy. You can kind of see it is dwarfing the small phone, but actually it doesn't feel that small when I took it out of the box. The 11 mini or 13 mini, excuse me. But you can see it now side by side. It is definitely a very small phone. And yeah, of course we only have 60 Hertz. Of course, you can't really tell because I'm recording this in a lower frame rate, but I've definitely noticed the animation is not as smooth. And I'll set it up to my local language here and local region. And I want to bring a other device close by. This should make it much easier. See here on my 13 Pro Max, it already found my 13 mini, so it's much easier to set it up if you have an iPad or an iPhone nearby. Of course, take a photo of that pattern there and just keep it nearby your new iPhone. And now you need to type in, of course, the password. And now you can kind of just move the old phone or device out of the way here. Just continue on the little guy here, the mini. Okay, now it's activated. Let's just enable Face ID. Let's kick forward here and look into the phone. Bring my face into frame and move it around. And Face ID works quite nice. I really like that. And of course, with iOS 14, I believe, you can also set it up using a mask. That's always been an annoyance here in the world we live in. And I'm asking if I want to transfer stuff from my 13 Pro Max, but no, I do not want to do that. I just want to set it up as a new device. I always like doing that. And I just keep everything in the cloud that's important to me. And of course, one downside with the smaller phone here is battery life. You won't get anywhere near the battery life that you get on the 13 Pro. And you can see it just logged into my Apple ID. 13 Pro or 13 Pro Max or just a regular 13. But I believe it's definitely enough for most people to get a day worth of usage. And for me, I'm only really going to use it maybe 1-2 hours a day when I'm doing running on an activity or anything like that. But anyways, I'm not going to transfer any apps or anything like that. So I'm going to select the bottom one here. I'll set it up as a new device. And of course, that's me right there. Let's go to the settings here. Siri, I don't really like Siri. And adapt the settings. Yeah, keep my phone at your. I want to have local services turned on. And I'm going to disable Siri. I never really use it, so it just gets a little bit in the way. And I do use Apple Pay, but I will set it up later. I will set up Siri later, and screen time. That's fine. I'm not going to share any analytics with Apple. And I use the dark theme, and I'll just have the default zooming here, or default screen size. So that's pretty much it. All set up, ready to use the device. And just for reference here, you can kind of see the 13 Pro Max there. You can see pretty much the same on the screen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of icons. And actually not bad. Text and so on looks pretty sharp. That's one thing with Apple. They do a great job like matching the screen size and how much you can actually see on the screen from device to device. You can see a little more here on the 13 Pro Max, but I wish they would take more advantage of the bigger screen and resolution on the bigger phone here compared to the smaller one, so you get a little more screen real estate. Like, for instance, having more icons on the homepage would have been nice. But yeah, you can see pretty much the same here. You can see the weather forecast until Friday, and here you can kind of see Sunday as well. So you lose a little bit of real estate, but not really all that much, to be honest. And of course, one thing you lose is the 3x camera as well on the smaller phone here. So you have 1x and 0.5x, so ultra wide and wide. And then I believe you don't have macro photo as well. Let's just get close to subject here. And yeah, you do not have the macro photography as well. So that's a little unfortunate. I believe Apple could have included that. So yeah, it's very easy to set up. Let's just see actually how much storage we have available right out of the box here. So I've only used like 16.3 gigabytes. This is of course like said right out of the box. I haven't installed anything yet. So I do have 111.5 gigabytes available right out of the box. And it came with iOS version 15.2, again out of the box here. So there should be an update. Let's just go check. Yeah, 15.3.1 as of this video, of course. So I will install that a little bit later. But yeah, I do kind of notice the like scroll speed is not as smooth. Oh, accidentally went out here. It's not really that bad. Of course, the 60 Hertz versus 120 Hertz. It's not my primary phone, so I can definitely live with it. But once you kind of experience that 120 Hertz, it's kind of hard to go back. Not to the sense that I couldn't go back. Of course, I could do so. You will get used to the 60 Hertz again. But still, it's just so much smoother and just feels so much snappier. But let me just set up the phone, install the latest iOS version. And of course, install some benchmarks. And let's do some further testing before we kind of wrap up this video here. So I have set everything up, updated to latest iOS, and of course install some benchmarking applications here on the 13 mini. And let's just have a look at benchmark. This is of course Geekbench 5. You can see here compared to my 13 Pro Max, this is the CPU benchmark. Yeah, we get pretty much the exact same results here, which is no surprise really, because they are using the exact same CPU. But when it comes to actual GPU or compute performance, you should see a little bit of an improvement on the 13 Pro Max here, because it does have a extra GPU core. So yeah, you can see I'm getting a little higher score, and it also finished quite a bit faster in that aspect. So for gaming and something that utilizes the GPU more than the CPU, you could potentially notice a little bit of a difference on the 13 Pro Max. But as of now, I don't think there's any game that really takes a full advantage of that GPU in these phones here. So don't really think that is a major issue by any stretch of the imagination, but that's just a little bit of a difference there. Another new benchmark from Geekbench called Geekbench ML, which is like testing neural engine or how smart your phone actually is. And let's just run that CPU test first here and see which one of these devices finishes first. And the 13 Pro Max did finish a little bit faster, but you're actually getting a little bit higher score here on the 13 mini. But let's just go back here and select GPU performance and see how they will actually differ in the Geekbench ML score compared to, of course, the compute score on the Geekbench 5 benchmark. And again here, the 13 Pro Max is quite a bit faster there when it comes to raw GPU power compared to the 13 mini, but will you really notice in day-to-day life? I don't think so. Maybe some games would run a little bit better on the 13 Pro Max, but the mini is definitely no slouch, and it's still quite a bit faster, or as fast as many Android phones that came out in 2022. And when it comes to Wi-Fi performance, I believe they have exactly the same chip in here, because I'm getting exactly or very close to the same results. They do fluctuate a little bit, but you can see here the last 4 speed tests, I'm getting pretty much the same results. So definitely seem to be exactly the same speed when it comes to Wi-Fi performance. Did also test the LTE performance, and I got 112 down and 40 megabits per second up, which is pretty fine. I don't have any 5G connectivity on this specific SIM card I have in this phone right now, and I can't really compare the two between each other because I have a different subscriber or different supplier on my Pro Max as I do with my 13 mini, but again, this should be very comparable because they're the same generation. And of course, one area where you will notice a big difference, and definitely a place where I feel I'm a little bit cramped, is on the keyboard here. It is usable, and it's definitely better than, the iPhone 5 generation, but you can see much wider keys here on the 13 Pro Max. This is the Swift key keyboard, which is my favorite one, but if you just go into the default iOS keyboard, it's actually pretty okay. And I would say I can type on it pretty comfortably, but definitely have more typos on the 13 mini. But of course, I have not used that as far as or as long time as I have on my 13 Pro Max. So that's a big variation there. But I would say it's usable, definitely better than like I said, the 5th generation or the first generation of iPhone SE with that 3.5-inch screen. I could barely type on that. And this one is actually usable in my opinion. And of course, you do get a little more real estate here with the 13 Pro Max. You can see actually a little bit more. For instance, on the website here, you can kind of see the text beginning down here at the bottom side, or the bottom of the screen. And it's not as small text and so on, but I'm actually kind of impressed by the 13 mini. I could definitely learn to live with that smaller device there, but yeah, I wouldn't really want to, for other than when I'm out and doing my run and stuff like that. And let's just try and click on a article there, and yeah, they are equally as fast, but you can kind of see if we go to the little article there, you can kind of see more of the article on the 13 Pro Max, and you are cut off kind of in the middle of this article right there, or the section right there. So definitely you do get more screen real estate of the bigger phones there, and yeah, that's something you notice. And of course also that 120 Hz screen refresh rate just feels so much smoother when I'm scrolling up and down, and I can see the text more clearly when I'm actually scrolling. So yeah, that's a major thing you will notice pretty quickly when you're coming from a high refresh rate screen. So that's the biggest deal breaker in my opinion, and what makes the 13 Pro Max feel so much snappier is definitely that nice scroll speed. And let's just take a little bit of listen here to the speaker quality. This is full volume. Definitely quite a loud little device here. So speaker wise, I think it sounds a little bit bigger than it actually is. So that's kind of impressive. So all in all, I really like this little phone here. I'm looking forward to actually get out and use it as a glorified MP3 player or streaming device when I go out and do my activities. And also so I can stay a little bit in contact with the outside world. And of course I can call for help if I should need to do so. I hope of course I will never have to do such a thing. But yeah, it is nice to have a little bit of contact with the outside world and just be able to stream podcasts and stream all kinds of playlists and radio. I really miss that a little bit when I'm out and doing my activities. I really like my Sony headphones, but these are standalone Walkman headphones. You have to transfer the music yourself to these headphones. I've been using them primarily, and I just miss a little bit just being able to go out and just hit play and play some playlists already made for me by Google with YouTube Music. Music does quite a good job at actually finding music I would like, and yeah, like I said, podcast and radio as well. I do kind of miss being able to listen to some of that when I'm out and doing my activities. So definitely looking forward to use this little device here. I couldn't go full time with a small phone like this. Not just because of the size, but the 120 Hz, once you see it, it's kind of hard to go back. Yeah, the battery life, of course, I haven't really tested it out yet, but I suspect it's quite a bit worse than on my 13 Pro Max. This is a true 2-day phone for me. Sometimes even squeeze 3 days out of this if I have, of course, not done anything extensively. Only really the camera, if I use that a lot, it can kill this phone. So I suspect this one, if I wanted to daily drive it, I could probably get through a day maybe. But if I use some more extensive features, like take a lot of photos and so on, then of course I would probably just kill it before the end of the day. So that's not really something I would consider for my daily driver at all, but as a compact phone I can bring with me when I need to be a little bit lighter for activities, or if I'm going out and traveling or hiking or anything like that. Just need a compact little waterproof phone that I can bring with me. I definitely feel like this is a nice little device. So yeah, highly recommended, of course, if you know what you're getting into. If you don't mind the subpar battery life and you don't mind the 60 Hz screen, this is a fantastic small phone and probably the best small phone you can get on the market, period. But of course, if you like those little bit nicer features, you should go for full-fledged iPhone, either just the 13 or the 13 Pro series. Fantastic phones in my opinion. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope to see you again in a future one. Until then, take care.